Hey everyone, it's Brian back with book games I beat over the months of September and October. I didn't do one last month because I was in the process of beating some pretty long games, and I did finish those up this month. And some longer games this month. Some games I played before, and one game that's one of my favorite of all time that got a re-release. I'll talk about a little bit. So we'll start off beginning of the month. I'm a big fan. One of the games I had on the Super Nintendo was Secret of Mana, and that was a 1994, 90, I think it was 94 or 93 SNES Japanese role-playing game by Squaresoft, now Square Enix. It was a different type of role-playing game. Up until that point, I've only played like Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest with turn-based combat. This was more of a top-down action role-playing game where you actually move the character and you hit the button to swing the sword. And I really like that game. And in fact, I beat it a few years ago on the Super Nintendo again, and I still really like it. There's some problems with it, but it's really fun. The music's great. The graphics are great. So a few months back, I also beat Final Fantasy Adventure, which was the first game before Secret of Mana, and I really liked that one as well on a Game Boy. I thought it held up really well. It was fun. The music was excellent again, and for a Game Boy game, it was excellent. And I remember reading in a game magazine, probably GamePro, or some magazine somewhere, I heard about Seku Densetsu 3, which translates into Legend of the Holy Sword or something, which is Secret of Mana in Japan. And this was the third game in the Secret of Mana series. We ended up never getting it until it was released on a Nintendo Switch in 2019. And this is a collection of mana. And it's on here, so that's why I picked it up. And this collection is pretty cool. It features Final Fantasy Adventure, which I talked about as the first one on the Game Boy. I think that was released in 1990 or in the early 90s. Secret of Mana, which you see down there in the middle, the one I talked about on the Super Nintendo, and Trials of Mana, which is the localization name for Seku Densetsu 3. They localized it out of the blue, and called it Trials of Mana. So the third game is right here. And so I picked it up for that. So that's the only one I've actually played, but I played a heck of a lot of it on this collection. Or I should say that's the only one I played on this collection so far. But I have beat all three of them now. And I played the heck out of Trials of Mana. I put like 90 hours into this game. I beat it 2 times, each time over 30-some hours. And it's very unique. So you pick, there's 6 characters, and they each have their own stories, and there's 3 main characters that have a certain story, and you pick the ones you want during the beginning of the game. So I beat the game twice with, my first party was Hawkeye, the thief, let's see, Hawkeye, let me jog my memory. Hawkeye, Kevin, he's like a werewolf that punches. He's a brawler, which I really liked him. And Charlotte, which is the mage, much like on Secret of Mana. And the second time I went for it and beat it, I played as Reese. She's the Amazon woman with a spear. She buffs characters, buffs your attackers and such. Duran, the typical swordsman, like on Secret of Mana. And Angela, who's the typical magician like on Secret of Mana. And I actually started another playthrough, but my other game, which I'll get to, came out and I kind of stopped it. My second playthrough, I'm playing through with the other characters I did not beat it with, which are... I forget, who is the other character? My mind is blanking on me, sorry. But So basically what I'm saying is there's a lot of replayability of it. You can pick your characters and you play through the game, and depending on who you have, they're from the same kingdom, and they have separate dialogue and they talk. And this game is fantastic. It looks amazing. It sounds amazing. It's a very late Super Nintendo release, or Super Famicom. Came out really late, and they really taxed the Super Nintendo. It looks one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen on this Super Nintendo. And I'm playing it on a Switch, so it's not really on a Super Nintendo, but you understand what I mean. The story, how can I describe it? It takes place, it's divided into 3 parts, and from 3 different kingdoms. Kevin, there's Duran, who's a swordsman from the kingdom Valparaiso of soldiers, and these magicians invade his kingdom, and he's defeated, and he tries to get stronger to get back at them. And he has this character that goes along with his quest that you can or cannot pick. It's up to you. And that is, I want to say it's Angela the Mage. And if you pick her, they'll have dialogue together. The second story, main story, so I beat his story on my second playthrough. The second main story is between, I think it's Kevin, the werewolf brawler guy. He turns into a werewolf at night. And Charlotte, the pixie mage, like from Secret of Mana. She's a healer and has some attack and some attack magic and some buffs, but mostly healing. And his story is he's from a kingdom of werewolves, and they feel like they have the right to take over humans. So one night a magician comes to his kingdom and persuades his father to, hey, you're better, you should invade. And he persuades his father to unleash his son's potential by having his dog. He has his dog who runs around with him. Accidentally kill his dog. He has his dog turn feral and attack Kevin, and he's forced to attack it to defend himself, but he ends up killing it, and he's really sad. And he finds out his father, by overhearing his father plan this with that mysterious magician, and he just gets mad and he leaves to try to find a way to revive his dog. So that's his story. And there's that plot with the mysterious magician. That's the one I started playing for my 3rd playthrough, and I'm about a quarter of the way through or so, maybe not even that. It was hard for me to put down because I want to see that story. And the first playthrough I did was with your other story, is between Hawkeye, he's a thief from a desert town, and I want to say Reese, who's an Amazonian. And his characters are from a thief village who invade the Amazonian kingdom. So I think they invade the Amazonian kingdom. No, I'm sorry. They invade... well, they invade one of the kingdoms anyway, but anyway, he gets framed for killing this magician lady comes to his kingdom, and her what is it? And the magician lady comes, and there's this warrior that he's friends with, and she kills him, but she frames Hawkeye. He gets thrown in jail, and Hawkeye's friend gets this choker put on her, where she has to follow orders or she could die, and he's forced to, he wants to clear his name and free her from that choker collar. So that's his story, and part of his story is Reese, the Amazonian woman, and I forget right now. I know her brother is kidnapped, and he wants to find him, and I beat that story the first time. That was really good. So yeah, it was really addicting. It's not a long game, about 20 hours if you go fast, 30 or so more if you take your time. But it's very addicting. The battle system is different from Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo. Secret of Mana, you charged your attacks to up to 8 levels depending on how you upgraded your orbs. with Watt the blacksmith. It made for a slower progress battle system. You could swing without charging, but you had to wait for it to be 100% or it would be weak. And sometimes it would not hit right away. The hit detection was kind of wonky. This fixes that in that you can charge up to twice instead of up to 8 times. So it's much quicker, and there's no meter that shows 100%. It's what you watch your character. When he's in a stance, that's when he can attack, and he's at full power. And you can also, I think you can charge and do up to 2 times and do like your special moves. So it makes the combat much faster. It looks better, or it looks more refined, I should say. Secret of Mana still looks great. And then it sounds great. The soundtrack's amazing on it. In fact, the soundtrack is on the CD of all of the games. I was just listening to them. You have weapons you upgrade, and you have special spells and abilities you learn, and you can get class changes when you get to a certain level. Your first level's at 18. You change class. You can go to Dark Road or Light Road, and depending on that, you get different abilities, and that's your second charge up. And you get different abilities you learn as you level up. And your second class change is at level, I want to say 30, or I think it's 30. And then you get your your other set of abilities, and you can go light or dark again, and your character changes. I think I went from Hawkeye, went to Dark Path, I went to Nightblade, and Kevin, I went to light and dark. He was like a god beast. It was great. The abilities were cool, and it's just fast moving. It moves along very quickly. The story, the writing's 90s, typical stuff, but it's very fun, very addicting, and it's a shame we never got it on the Super Nintendo, because it would have been a true classic over here. I played the heck out of that for 90 hours on 2 stories. I wanted to go back to it and play Kevin's story, because he was in my party the first time, but I didn't beat it as him, his main story. Final Fantasy Adventure I beat a few months back this summer, and Secret of Mana I beat twice, 2 or 3 times, once back in 1994, and then once or twice back in 1994, and then once around 2013 or 14, 15, something around there. And that's awesome. So I haven't played those 2 on here, but I have beat them. But if you've liked any of those games, or you like action RPGs, if you like any of those games, Final Fantasy Adventure, Secret of Mana, and you like action RPGs, this is a very good game to get. It was only $30, I think. It's very highly worth the price just for the having. I would have paid that just for Trials of Mana alone. So I'm very happy to get this game. It was great to play a new Super Nintendo game. I was loving it from start to finish, and I couldn't put it down. I was always thinking about playing it, listening to the soundtrack at work and stuff. The next game I played and beat was Dragon Quest VIII, Journey of the Cursed King. This game I have beat before on the 3DS. I put over, 200 or 300 hours in it, and got everything you could possibly get. And this is my copy from, I should say, my original copy is, I have 2 copies actually. Let me explain. I got this game when it came out in 2005, I want to say. Yeah, 2004 or 5. I was really looking forward to it after playing Dragon Warrior as a kid, Dragon Warrior 3 as a kid, Dragon Warrior 4, and then we were supposed to get 5. We never got it. And back in the early 2000s, in my early 20s, I was really excited for Dragon Quest VII on the PlayStation, and I got that and I loved it, beat it, loved it. Dragon Quest VIII, it came out in 2005. I remember my first job, I took off, or at lunch, I went all over trying to find it, and I found it on my lunch hour in this shop down in Pittsburgh, and it's down near downtown somewhere. But I brought it back, and I was just looking at it and excited for it. And I never finished it back in 2005. I think I got to I was kind of intimidated. I thought I went the wrong way in the class system, where I shouldn't say class system, but your skill system. I kind of spread my characters out too thin. Instead of focusing on 2 or 3, I would evenly distribute them. So all 6 or so would be really low, but they'd have equal amounts of points. And that's really not the best way to play it. You should, I didn't know this at the time, you should concentrate on 2 or 3 skills to get them higher, and you're more specialized, you're stronger on those abilities. So it was harder for me, and because of that, I never really got as far as I should have. I got up to around where I picked up. So I got up to near almost more than halfway done with it when you beat Dol-Magus in his temple in the north, the Shadow Temple or whatever it's called. So I played this game, I picked it back up, and I felt in the mood to playing another Dragon Quest because Dragon Quest XI-S was coming out, which I'll talk about later. And it was coming out for the Switch, so I wanted to play. I figured, I never beat my save on Dragon Quest VIII from 2005, from how long ago? 98, 14 years ago. So why don't I just pick that up? So I put in my memory card, played it on my original PlayStation 2 with my original save from 2005. Actually, it was dated 2008 or so. I played it again and picked right where I left off, and wasn't too lost of what to do because I did play it on the 3DS 2 years before in 2017. So I wasn't too lost. I remembered I was at Dol-Magus and I wanted to beat him, so picked up right where I left off, and instead of distributing my skill points evenly, I picked just 2 to focus on so I would get the better skills and just be more focused. I think I went with Angelo, I went with swords and his charms abilities. I think Jessica, I went with whips. And Hero, I went with spears at first, and Yangus axes. Built those up as far as I could till I got really good skills and focused on their specialty skills. And then after that, after I maxed out the hero's spears and specialty hero skills, I went to swords. And that way it made getting the game a lot more easier because you had better abilities, you gain passive strength boosts to your weapons that you equipped. So when you had a spear, if you put enough points into it, you get like a plus 10, plus 15, plus 25 attack bonus when you have a spear. And that increased the power tremendously. So that's the best way I recommend doing that. Pick 1 or 2 and stick with it. Don't spread your skill points out too evenly. And you can't redistribute them after you get done. So once you have to pick one and go with it. So I picked it up. It took me about another week to finish it, so it wasn't a lot of time, and I fell right back into it. I love Dragon Quest games. Every time I play Dragon Quest games, I get sucked into it, sucked into them again. This is one of the better ones. If you never played it, it's out on the 3DS. You can pick it up, and it's on the PlayStation 2. I think my original copy, I say I have 2. I threw away the case, the box and manual box with it, so I picked up this other copy here. This isn't my original. My original is on my shelf here. This is a copy I picked up for $15, and it says it comes with the Final Fantasy 10 or 12 demo. I've never actually played the demo of this. I just got it for Dragon Quest 11, or I'm sorry, Dragon Quest 8, and I want to say Dragon Quest 11, but because I'll be talking about that bit. This is a great game. I think it's one of the best Dragon Quest games out there. One of the best looking PlayStation 2 games, or Dragon Quest games, period. It's just amazing. The story is about your king who got turned into a frog troll kind of creature, and his princess got turned into a horse, and she carries your cart, and you follow along with them, and your friend Yangus, who's a thief. He's this big English accent guy. He's like, oh, Gov. He always calls you Gov. And you have Jessica. You run into Jessica, who's looking for her brother, who wants to get revenge for her brother. Alistair, who's Dol-Magus, the main villain, who actually got the scepter from King Trode, who you fought the king who got turned into the troll with his princess, stole to get power, and he's going along to unlock that staff's power by killing the ancestors who sealed him in the... He sealed Rappathorn is the name of the main villain. These priests sealed him in the staff, and when Dol Magus stole the staff, it possessed him to kill all these descendants of those who sealed him. And once they're dead, he can be released from the staff and terrorize the world again. So you go with Jessica, who Dol Magus kills her brother. She wants revenge, and Angelo also, who's from this Malin Abbey area, very religious, and he's on the quest with you as well. And you meet funny characters along the way. There's Red, thief who knows Yangus. There's Mori, the monster trainer. And they are not playable in this one, but on the 3DS you actually can play as them. And the world is very big and beautiful. There's not a lot in it, but there are treasure chests hidden around. The towns are very lively. The dialogue's great. The character design's great by Akira Toriyama, who did Dragon Ball Z, of course. If you play Dragon Quest, you know that. The music is symphonic. This was the only release that got symphonic when it first came out. It was all synthesized music in Japan, and we got a symphonic version of the music, so it's different in that regard. And we also got redesigned menus. Instead of the plain black menus, we got like this redesigned, better looking menus. And it's a great game. You can find it real cheap on a PlayStation 2 for like 18 bucks. On a 3DS, it's like 30 bucks. It's very much worth it. It's a long game, but you never feel bored in it. It never drags on. It moves very fast. There's a good post game to it, which I haven't done yet on this version. I have done it on the 3DS. It's just a fantastic game. Okay, and after Dragon Quest VIII, I was in the mood for more Dragon Quest, so I beat Dragon Quest 1 and 2 on the Game Boy Color. So Dragon Quest was or this is actually Dragon Warrior 1 and 2, I should say. I keep saying Dragon Quest, but Dragon Warrior is used to be the North American name for Dragon Quest, because they couldn't call it Dragon Quest because the rights were for Dungeons & Dragons Holdings. I think TSR held that name, I believe. So they had to call it Dragon Warrior until 2001 when the PlayStation 1 until I think... No, actually, yeah, this game here, Dragon Quest VIII, was the first one to be called Dragon Quest in the West. So I beat Dragon Warrior on the NES. That was the first RPG I ever played, and it took me a while to wrap my head around it. I have a video up about my experience with Dragon Quest games. And I beat Dragon Warrior 2 a few months, early spring or summer, spring or summer this year, and that was one of the toughest RPGs I've ever played, Dragon Warrior 2 on the NES. The main game was fine. It was very open. You could go where you want. It was very fun. You had 3 party members. It was much more expansive. That was fine. The hard part about that game was near the end game, which I talked about in that video. This is the re-release of those games for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color on one cartridge. They made it so you get more experience from fighting enemies, more gold from fighting enemies. That made the game move much faster. You could buy better equipment quicker, level up quicker, get stronger quicker, attempt the dungeons quicker, beat the game quicker. The translations changed. The towns are named more on their Japanese part instead of their American part, which I really liked. They got rid of the Elizabethan English part of thee and thou, which I really liked on those games. So I beat Dragon Quest Dragon Warrior 1 first, then moved on to Dragon Warrior 2, and they did improve that one a lot because the Cave to Rome was a lot easier. It was more balanced. They did the same upgrades with more gold, more experience, made it move quicker. So the Cave to Rome, the end game part of that game, was much easier, and I enjoyed it much more this time. But if you want to play Dragon Warrior and Dragon Warrior 2 nowadays, you can get this cartridge here, and these games are actually on the mobile devices if you have a phone, but they're not these ports of 1 and 2. They are actually the redesigned for mobile games. So the graphics aren't pixelated 8-bit style. They're more of a flat shelled animated style, like Flash, like looks like Flash animation. But it still looks good. In fact, those games were re-released on the Switch 1, 2, along with 3, which I'm currently playing. I'm near the end of that. I'm playing 3 on the Game Boy Color, and they released those games as one package on the Nintendo Switch this last month in October or September, along with Dragon Quest XI-S. So if you want to play those, you can play them on the Switch there, and I highly recommend. If you haven't played them, yeah, you can get them on the Switch for like 1, I think, is $6. 2 is 10. I think 3 is 16. Yeah, I highly recommend playing 1 at least, or 3, 1 at least. And out of those 3, I'd recommend 3 and then 1. Play 1 first, and then 3, and then you can play 2 if you want. But yeah, great old RPGs, which I like. I like the simplicity of Dragon Quest a lot. You don't have to wrap your mind against all these systems and stuff. So now I beat Dragon Warrior on the NES, Dragon Warrior 2 on the NES, Dragon Warrior on the Game Boy Color, and Dragon Warrior 2 on the Game Boy Color. And I'm working on Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior 3 on the Game Boy Color now, which I'm really loving. Last time I played that, well, actually I beat it last summer on the NES again, so I beat that game. This is my 3rd time through it. Playing, and I love it just as much as I did before. One of my favorite top NES games. Okay. Next up, for the Switch, we have Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. And I beat this game a few years ago on the Game Boy with the Game Boy Player, and it took me a long time to get through it, a month or so, because some of the dungeons were very tough for me. It took me a while before I realized you could throw a pot at the door and break it to go in, so I was going all over the place trying to figure out how to open these doors, looking for switches and stuff, but just had to throw a pot in. And there's one dungeon in this here, the Eagle Tower, that took me a while to get through as well. So I really liked it. The music was great. The graphics were great. This is the re-release of that game, and includes. So this is the 3rd time this game's been released. This game was released in 1990. I want to say 3. This was after Link to the Past, so it would have to be after 91. So 93, 92 on the Game Boy. And it was an amazing game. I never had a Game Boy, so I never really had a desire to play it until a few years ago, or a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago. And then it was re-released again in, I want to say, 1998, 99 for the Game Boy Color, and that was the DX release. And it was in color. They added a color dungeon. So the color dungeon is in here, and the picture place where you can take your pictures with the Game Boy camera and print them out for the Game Boy printer for the original release. That was removed, and a dungeon creator thing, Dompe from, I think, Ocarina of Time was added in its place, and you could like get dungeon tiles and do that if you wanted to create a little dungeon and share it with amiibos to other people. But this game, I put a lot of time into this game as well. I put over 90 hours in this game. Beat it twice, once on the easy mode, or normal mode, I should say, and then again on the hard mode, which was hero mode, which is very much tougher. But since I went through the first time, I knew exactly what to do. So I played this game twice, 90 hours, and once on the DX version. Hero mode is very tough because all the enemies do 2 times damage. There's no hearts from shrubs and in pots, so you have to heal with fairies or potions, or fairies or the milk, or what do you get to heal yourself? I forget. Something. Yeah, fairies only, I think it was, to heal yourself in bottles and fairy fountains. There's no milk or potions, I don't think. Yeah, only magic powder. So the first thing about this game is it looks amazing. It looks like a diorama world where you're looking down on the top of the world. Everything's like tilted. So it looks like you're this person looking down on this model, and Link's running around. He looks like a little toy. All the enemies are adorable. So there's no screen scrolling like in the first one. Like the first one is screen by screen. This one, it's continuous world. So you see parts of the world that you didn't see in the Game Boy game on different screens because they had to be scrolled to the next screen. So you'd just see that next screen now on this version. The music's is the same, but they redid it to be a more jolly old toyish kind of thing. Really, really good. They added some animated intros where, if you remember, the first intro was a cartoon animated pixels 8-bit version of Link on his raft, and he gets the storm hits him. He gets on the island. Marin finds him, runs to him, and then it zooms up to the windfish egg. They did all that, and in the beginning of it's like all animated, like a Japanese animation, very good looking, and the ending is Japanese animation too. They added more to the Crane game. They added more things to you get these little like dolls that you can collect and put in houses, so that's really fun. And the Crane game's a lot better this time. They made it very addicting. The economy in this game is much better. You're never without something to spend money on rupees on. I never had so many rupees where I picked one up and I couldn't have any more. I always had room for rupees. I always wanted more rupees. So that's better. There's always stuff to buy. It moves very fast. The dungeons are great. The movement's great. It's like 8 switching, so he doesn't move slowly. It's like he snaps to different positions, so it's very easy to turn around and hit your enemies. Some people say it doesn't run well. There's frame hiccups in it, but it never bothered me. It always ran fine for me. There is some slowdown, but it's nothing that takes away from the game. It would be great if it ran at 60, but like Link Between Worlds ran at smooth 60, and that was great. It made it one of the better playing ones out Zelda games. It just moves so fluidly. This doesn't move as fluidly as that. There is slowdown. And that is a knock for it. If you are looking for a straight 60 frames per second experience, this won't give you that. It's just a great game. It sold a lot. I think when the numbers came out this month, it sold like, I want to say, it's up to like, oh god, how many did it sell? A few million. It's up there. It's like in the top 10 of selling. I don't want to say that, but it sold a few million. So it sold very, very well. If your only experiences with Breath of the Wild, and you have a Switch, and that's your first Zelda game, if you want to find out what Zelda used to be like, I highly recommend playing Link's Awakening. It's a classic Zelda formula that I grew up loving, and I still love, and I hope they make a Zelda more towards this style. Not the look, but more towards the classic. Go into a dungeon, get the item, use the item in puzzles in the dungeon and down the world, beat the boss, get a heart container. I love that. More focused than Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was great in its openness, but at times I thought that if they tamed it down a little bit, made it more focused, that's what the next Breath of the Wild should be. The more sequel, I would hope it's more focused with more dungeons and more not better design, but more focused puzzles with those items that you get. Linearity is not a bad thing, and I think in Zelda games, Breath of the Wild is great in its openness, but I would like a little more linearity in my Zeldas, so that is that. The next game is Dragon Quest XI-S. One of my favorite games of all time is Dragon Quest XI. A recent game came out on the PlayStation 4 in North America last year around September, and before that in July of September in 2017. This is the re-release. It's actually called Dragon Quest XI-S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition. This is the re-release or update to that game that came out on the PlayStation 4 for the Nintendo Switch. It's been in development for a long time, at least since 2016, 2017. It was the first game announced for the Switch when it was still called the NX, and it's been in development since. They ran into problems with it because the version of Unreal Engine, the graphics engine they used for this game, was not compatible with the Switch. So they had to move to the newer Unreal Engine 4, I believe, and that caused problems, caused them to have a lot of hardships with that, so they had to push it back. And it finally came out, and it's just as good, even better than I remember playing. I love this game to death. I love the characters, I love the music, I love the graphics. The graphics take a little bit of a hit in this. It's nothing, if you haven't played the PlayStation 4 game, you won't notice, but if you have, you will notice some muddy textures, some more pop-in, stuff like that. The music is a lot of the tracks are fully orchestrated this time, so that's a plus. They added a 2D mode, which is like a 16-bit RPG like Dragon Warriors 5 or 6. It looks amazing. In fact, that's how I put my almost 300 hours or 200 and some hours into this game, getting everything. I played it all in 2D mode because I played the 3D mode on the PlayStation 4. And the great thing about the 2D mode is they had to redesign the world to make advantage of that 2D stuff. So the map layout is similar. It'll get you in your head like, oh yeah, I remember this, but it isn't quite what I remember. So that instead of sparkly spots, a lot of them are hidden in these spots of map. You go into it, goes into a separate screen, and you hit them, and you get the sparkly spots for your ingredients. Like cobblestone, that whole area, it's different. Like the whole world's different. They had to redesign the game just to play it in 2D, and that was a big challenge for them. I remember them saying that in an interview. They said that they probably would never do that again. So it's basically 2 games almost in one. They added features like different extra character chapters where you play as characters during points where they're missing in the story. That's cool. I gotta say, I think you're not missing much if you play the PlayStation 4 version of those chapters. They're nice, but I think they kind of, almost to a point, kind of ruined the surprise near the end. Not having a chapter of certain characters, I should say. But they're still nice to have. They improved some features like Fun Size Forge. When you want to upgrade your equipment with Fun Size Forge, you can do it anywhere. You don't have to just be at a campsite. You can buy, if you need a certain material, you don't have to run around the world looking for it. You can just buy it right at the forge. That's nice. They added Nose for Treasure right on the map, so if you wanted to find out how many treasure chests you were missing, it was right there on the start button. Before that was a special ability, or a special feature you had to unlock much later in the game. They added some more rideable mounts, Slime Knight and some other ones. What else? Oh, on a 2D mode, you could hit your head in the ceiling when you zoomed, which was great. I love that. In Dragon Quest, when you wanted to fast travel, you'd zoom. If you were inside, you'd shoot up in the air, but you'd hit your head and you'd fall down. You would say, ouch. That puts a smile on your face. They added a feature where there were certain costumes that changed your appearance, but it only changed your appearance when you wore those. So if you got better equipment, you had to leave that change of appearance behind. This one, no, you could change your equipment without changing the look of a certain armor set that you like. That's cool. They added you could run up, the characters follow you behind on the world map, where on the one for PS4 it was just a single character following you around. So now you see all your other 3 characters following you around. You can talk to the characters in party chat just by hitting start, or you could go up to them on the world map and there's a bubble above their head and you hit your action button and talk to them. They show little character bios, like cartoon character faces in the corner while you're battling, and they have speech like party chat during battle now. What else? They added the fast feature of the ultra fast battle feature, which is really fast when you get into battles. It's very fast. It's like somebody fast forwards motion through battles, makes battles go really quick. What else? I know there's something else I'm forgetting. Oh, the ability to switch to Dragon Quest VIII world music if you wanted from Dragon Quest VIII, which I talked about previously. That game, I should say. They added switching between symphonic score and non-symphonic score, and I always liked the non-symphonic score synthesized. I thought it was great. A lot of people didn't. I always thought the music was great. It's past Dragon Quest game music, and if you like that, it's a lot of music from those games, which is amazing music. And I like the new compositions, and when the synthesized I thought was great, the symphonic is great too. What else? Oh, you got the Bauman Bell to ride the Great Saber Cat from Dragon Quest VIII, but only in 3D mode. It wasn't rideable in 2D mode, unfortunately, which was a letdown. You could call your horse anywhere with a horse hailer item. You got a special item for horse racing where you never ran out of stamina boost for your horse. It was these golden reins where it made getting the horse race items much easier. What else? I'm trying to go through all these because I love this game so much. Oh, marriage options near the end. You can choose to be with somebody. You can choose to be with any one of your party members, or the other choice, which was Gemma back in Dragon Quest 11S or 11 on the PlayStation 4 was only the one choice. Now it's all your party members are a choice. And they added this awesome part, Tickington, which if you play Dragon Quest 11, these little creatures running around. They're white. They look like ghosts. You don't know who they are. And even on the end of the game, you still don't quite know what they're named or what they are. They're called Tockles in this game, and they live in a village called Tickington. And in Tickington, they have to keep collective works and books of past Dragon Quest games, 1 through 10. And something has taken over these books and is rewriting history. So you have to go into these books and save those books and rewrite the chapters back to how they were. And there's 9, 10 of them with 3 or 4 quests each. You find the different Tockles you unlock by finding Tockles who give you passwords, upon passwords, and you can go back to Tickington, go into these books when you get a password, and each one is a little story you'll remember from Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, but we never got 10 here. It's an online game, MMO, which we never got, probably never will. I don't want to say never, but probably won't. But just playing those was a highlight of this game alone. Just going back to past Dragon Quest Warrior games, like in the first one, you went to get the harp, and you went into that town northwest of Tantegel, and I knew exactly where to go for the harp. And then in Dragon Quest 3, you had to fight Baramos, which I just beat, and I remember just from playing Dragon Quest 11S. You go into his castle, and on the Game Boy Color I'm playing now, I went right to Baramos' castle, knew exactly where to go. Dragon Quest 4, which is one of my favorite 2D Dragon Quest games. But I think after playing 3 three-times and playing 4 twice, I think I might like 4 a little bit more than 3, just because the characters are so great with Elena, Christo, and Bray. I love Christo and Elena. I love Ragnar McRyan. I love Marinara, Talon the Merchant, or Torneko in Japanese. Dragon Quest 5, which I played a year or so ago, which is one of the best ones too, with its story, multi-generational stories. 6, which is the beginning of that massive job system. Shouldn't say the beginning of it, but the expansion on the job system with much more jobs. 7, which I love to death. 7's one of my favorite Dragon Quest games as well. Beat it on the PlayStation 1 100%, beat it on the 3DS 100%, and here going back, you go into the ruby mines, you have to push the little rubies out of the way, you meet Kiefer, just a great game. Dragon Quest 8, you go to the Saber Cats Arena, save Jessica, all that kind of stuff, or recall Jessica's memories. Just great. I love the nostalgia of that. To switch between 2D modes is not seamless though, so I recommend you pick one style and stick with it, because you can change it anytime in a church only, but you can't pick up right where you are. You have to go back a few hours or a few minutes to a certain chapter points in the story. Now that stinks, but it allows you to do a New Game Plus where you can go the whole way to the end of the game, because when you change, you can go back to the first part of the story, or the story last chapter you were on, or the beginning of the one you're currently in, and you keep all your weapons and non-key items and levels and skills. So you could beat the whole game, go back, 100% it, max everything, go back and do a New Game Plus again in 3D mode or 2D mode, and start at level 99 with everything and just blow through the game real fast. So it's kind of cool, almost like Chrono Trigger where you can blow through the game real fast. So I wish that was a little more seamless. I wish you could just switch and pick up right where you are. Also, I wish they redesigned more 2D stuff. I wish they had horse racing in 2D. I wish horse racing was a little better. It's kind of more useless in this one because in the 3D mode you could run over enemies and get experience, and it was a much faster way to travel. In this one, it's no faster than walking. There's no real use to call a horse, and you can't use the Great Saber Pup Lion to run around in with Bomb and Spell, and for some reason it doesn't let you. And when you do horse racing in Gallipolis, it doesn't switch to 2D horse racing, it switches to the 3D mode horse racing. And some of the cutscenes are from the 3D version. I wish they did everything in 2D, but I understand why they did so much already in the 2D version. It would have took more time to do that, but those little gripes aside, it's my favorite Dragon Quest game ever, having played them all and some of them multiple times. This game's amazing. If you love RPGs, love Japanese RPGs in particular, and played and liked any of the Dragon Quest games, get this game any way you can on PC, on PS4, on Switch. It's an amazing experience, and having put over 500 some hours into it now, I can say during no point playing that game did I ever feel like, oh, this is going on too long, I wish I could stop. In fact, after playing this game again for another 200 some hours in 2D mode, I wish there was even more. That's how much I like this game. I love the characters, I love the twists and turns, I love the story. There was points in this game where I cried on the PlayStation 4 version, and playing it again in 2D, it kind of got me misty-eyed. If it's your first playthrough of this game, I recommend going through it on 3D first to see like just the beautiful world of Erdrea, and the funny moments in it was funny. There's in 3D, they're amazing. And then playing through it again, maybe New Game Plus in 2D mode. It's just an amazing game, an amazing experience. And this is why I play video games, to play games like this. This game is pure joy. If you have a bad day, it'll bring laughs to your faces, smiles to your faces, laughter to your heart. As corny as that sounds, but even after playing it 500 hours in the middle of playing this game, I was like, at work, I was thinking, man, I can't wait to play this game when I get home. Listening to the soundtrack at work, I love this game to death. I can't recommend it enough. And the Switch version is the definitive version, minus some nitpicks on the graphics. Amazing game. Character design is amazing. Characters amazing. I can't recommend this game enough. If you haven't played a Dragon Quest game, this is the one to try and play. And there's a demo of it on the Switch shop to download and try. And I guarantee if you like any kind of Dragon Quest game, you'll love this game. If it's not for you, then you'll know, and you save yourself $60. So yeah, that's a little long for those few games that I was playing, but they, as you can tell, they're games that I'm very passionate about. I love to death. Some I played before. In the case of Dragon Quest 11, or I'm sorry, Dragon Quest 8, but finally got around to playing 15 years in the making, finally beating it on a PlayStation 2. Dragon Warrior 1 and 2 I played before but still love them. And Dragon Quest 11 and Link's Awakening I played before and still love them. So yeah, a lot of good games. That's why they're long games. That's why I don't have as many this 2 months. But I had a heck of a time playing these games, and love every minute of playing Dragon Quest 11 and Link's Awakening again, as well as Dragon Quest 1 and 2, and Dragon Quest 8, and I'm playing Dragon Quest 3 again. So after that, I think I might stop on a Dragon Quest for a little bit, and then get the Switch version of 1, 2, and 3 in a year or so, and play through those again. So yeah, that's everything I played or beat. Every game I beat for the past 2 months, September, October 2019, and I'm filming this on Halloween, so have a good Halloween, and I will talk to you again in next month. Take care.